Having fun out there?
Yeah.
So just putting my 9-inch. Hold up. Good on your clothes. Just put me 9-inch together for the truck. So I bought it as a housing that had been cut. Someone obviously wanted a really short diff for some reason. I managed to get some axle tube material. We machined the ends down, cut the excess away, slid new tubes in. So what I've done is just made a jig out of some 75 equal angle that's just tacked down to the bench. So we straight edged across the top, put the housing in, slid the tubes in and clamped it both directions. Should give us a pretty true diff. So I'll just run some tacks on, or some little stitches on, pull it out, then we can start putting our diff brackets on for our airbags. So just in the process of setting the diff up now with our diff brackets. So these have been designed to incorporate 3 things in the one bracket. I try and utilize as much bracketry as possible. So here we have our lower link mount. The tube across the bottom is our sway bar. We'll go more into that in a little bit. And these front holes here are for our shock mounts. So essentially what I've done, we've plug welded the tubes in. We've also just done a little stitch in here. There's still plenty of room to weld in there once the brackets are attached. I'll jig it up with a through bar and some cones to do it properly. Essentially we've set it at 30 degrees, so what we're going to do now is shoot a laser. We'll put the carrier in, shoot a laser through the center our lower bar up and tack it off. Also set the angle. As you can see, I had to open this bracket up just a little bit with a die grinder, but yeah, once that's done we should be able to pretty well put it in the car. We'll shoot a laser down the center again and just make sure it's sitting in the center where we want it. Alrighty, so just make them a Watts link now. So then my brackets that I've just cleaned up before, I've cut some tube, getting it to sand off on an orbital. This one's already bent, so we're just setting up my JD squared bender now. So I actually built this one. It's based off a JD squared tube bender. I bought the DXFs off the internet. Having access to a laser cutter where I used to work, I was able to cut it out. So yeah, things that are JD squared are the dies. Had all the machines pins machined up. Pretty good little thing. So chassis is actually coming along pretty well. I haven't really been filming it. We're just trying to work out my top links at the moment. Chances are I'm going to move these brackets in. But as you can see, we've already used the tube bender on this project. So gives a nice mandrel bent radius. It does egg a little bit, but still it's better than one of those plumbing tube benders that aren't very good. So diff's also in, bottom links are attached, sway bar tubes in, new axle tubes, so it's come along pretty well. So we'll keep going. We'll bend this now. Oh, Dad's also taking the cab off the old chassis, so I'll just show you a bit more of this project while we're here. So 47 International, me and Dad bought it years ago, started building it. was on this like 97 Hilux chassis. So New South Wales changed the rules. I can't actually get this registered anymore, so that's why we've gone to a new chassis. But at the end of the day, I'm going to build a truck that I probably would have liked to have built back in the day. Alright, so I'll bend this up now. We'll get some footage of it and go from there. Alright, so now the tubes are bent. I've just marked them up to hole saw them. So what I've just used is like a 2-foot framing square. Just packed up some 25 tube up on the bench. So what I can do is I can push that in, square that up on the edge, then I can use my combination square off the inner edge of the other square, and then we can mark where our hole saw is going to go through. So what I'll do now is I'll chop this down, both here and here, just so the hole saw doesn't have to work as hard to go through to notch them. There is a long leg on that tube. I know it does seem like a waste, but with that particular bender for small pieces, it's really hard to bend. So essentially you have to have that material there. So by the time this was finished bending, there was only about 150 mil stick out, which wasn't much. So I'll go and cut them down in the Brobo now and get them ready to go. Alrighty, so we got the hole saw set up. Just a little Heron Forbes tube notcher, nothing too special. Just attach a drill, spins around, notches it in. So I've already notched one end, as we can see. I did make a bit of a mistake by cutting them down, so it was really hard to clamp for that last hole saw there. So I just tacked the bits I cut off back on, and we'll now hole saw it. I'll need to set this back up again to be 90 degrees because we had to offset the angle slightly to hold it so it would notch that one square. So I'll reset that angle, re-square it up and notch it. So the one slick's all tacked up. That just got some bolts in there, just into the brackets for the diff. So we're just setting up now to put it on. So as you can see, there's now a green line being shot around from the laser. So that's center of the chassis, so diff centered. So theoretically I should be able to shoot to the center of that bush, and then we'll be able to tack it off and get it right where we need it to be in the center. So this morning I've just been editing the video and I realized that there was a couple of things that we've missed. So essentially we'll just do a quick once over of the chassis and I'll just show you where we've gotten up to. So front half's in, original front cross member. We've also welded some captive nuts on the inside of the rails. So the back ones are the step stands or step mounts, running boards. That one there is front cab mount, just to make it easier to locate. Because this is an original chassis, we should be able to use the original front mounts with that cab. So as I said, today is my last pretty well full day of holiday. Still got Saturday and Sunday, so I'll probably get some more done, but pretty well got to where I wanted to. So we now have my top links in. So on these we've actually run a Rose/Heims joint, wherever you're from in the world. Decided to run them horizontally this time instead of vertically, just as a detail point really. Misalignment spaces, we've got more than enough angle on them. Like before I had it sitting up on the diff, pretty well touched that bottom bar, which is about 250mm down while being pinned there, so there's more than enough angle on it. I've actually also got my shocks mounted, so up the top there, and as I said in the video, try and use as much of the bracket as possible. So bottom tube there is for a sway bar, bottom shock mount, as well as lower link mount, as well as diff bracket. So one thing I'm not overly happy with is this bridging plate. It's a little bit thin. The way I designed it was a little bit wrong, but we'll be able to fix it. So because the fold comes through here and through this is just flat steel in here essentially now, so it does sag a little bit, with a little bit of tension on the rails, so I will rectify that. We've also got our tube done back here, so it's all 1 3/4 inch, like seamless, cold drawn seamless, and all bent in our JD squared bender. So as you can see, I've got my top mount linked up here. I've also got all the Watts link assembled and the tubes in. So just simple little bracket over this side and a bit of a longer bracket over this side with a nice gusset in it. I run Heims on one end and bushes on the other, so if it was bush, when you get pinion roll, it'll start to tear the bush inside on the crush tube, so that's why the Heims joint's employed there on this end to go with that pinion roll, and bush this end to make it a little bit softer and allow for some stretch. So again, 1 3/4 inch tube, top arms are 1.5 inch, cold drawn seamless, 3.2mm wall, which is what the spec is. Slanted Specialties bags, so they're a 7-inch bag, so 8 inches of lift, so at full lift they're 11 inches high overall. They've got a 3mm internal bump stop in them. We will run a bump stop up under the rail as well that'll bolt in. But yeah, where the bag's positioned on the lower arm, it essentially gives us, out of that 8 inches of lift, it will give us 10 inches at the wheel, which is way more than we'll ever need to go over a speed hump. So yeah, not 100% done, but I'm 99% where I wanted to be by the time I went back to work. So I just got to do that top bracket, and then I'm where I wanted to be. So another job for today will be to measure and draw up the front boxing plates. Then hopefully tomorrow or during next week I will be getting transmission, and we'll be mocking transmission in, and then we'll start doing the tube center cross member. So I'll continue filming this build. We'll continue putting out little random parts of this series, but yeah, thanks again for watching, and we're back on the ute on Sunday, so we'll be filming again on Sunday, back with the ute. So thanks for watching, and thanks for your support throughout last year. It's been awesome.